The entirety, all of it, of the month of May 2003 is devoted to getting over the Disco Inferno Glen Gilberti, and I simply cannot tolerate such a thing.
That is a fair enough point.
Like, I'm not joking when I say every single one of these shows in the month of May, the sole goal of all of them is to get over Disco Inferno as a main event heel that you should take seriously. And it is a very upsetting thing that happened.
Listen, to play Russo advocate, he is getting a title challenge. So, like, if there was ever a time to try and make him look decent, it's probably before he competes for a title. Is what I would say before I remembered that they also completely buried that idea on the last show before he goes for the title.
Also, Glen Gilberti is kind of helping with the booking, so he's given himself a title challenge.
Yeah, but, like, you know, if there's ever a time to build him up, it's doing it when there's a title challenge that at least makes sense. If they were just doing this on a random month.
No!
I was like, is that a train in the background?
I'm building up to this. No. You just never give Disco Inferno a world title. Like, or if you do, it's just the challenger of the week.
Well, Jeff had to go to Australia and hang out, okay? They couldn't do it next week.
Oh, they could have recorded it. They could have just been like, we are going to do Disco Inferno versus Jeff Jarrett as a nice little middle of the month title match while we build to a real challenger down the line. But no, they're like, we're going to build a full month, a full, whole, entire month of TNA history around the Disco Inferno.
Yeah, I am, it's fine. It's good television.
It's not even good they didn't even do a good job. It's just really bad television. It sucks.
Nah, it's good television. Exciting stuff, ready to talk about it.
It's just Disco acting like a badass, trying to be the coolest guy on earth.
Yeah, he's
beating
so
people
cool,
left,
though.
right, and center.
No,
wearing
like,
a tie.
He's so cool, and he manipulates everyone now because he's so much smarter than everyone else in the promotion. It's great.
All of his dumb sex pals hate him until he gives them a speech, and then they kind of like him, but also
Well,
disappear
that happens
again.
Literally every month.
Every month, it's nearly every week. Every week, it's like, oh, everyone hates Siaki, but Glenn is talking to people the way they like it.
Yeah, because he's so cool and smart and stronger than everyone else.
What a horrible month. What a horrible month of TNA. The worst part, actually, the most galling bit is there was a moment on commentary during the month where Mike Tenay's like, but no, this is the new Glen Gilberti. And it's like, not you too, Mike. Not you too. You are not getting on board with trying to give this man credibility as well. It's, no.
Again,
no.
he's probably just like, I'm trying to give Glen Gilberti credibility heading into his NWA title match.
No, he should be like, he's a goon. Like, the whole thing should be he's a goon, though. The whole thing should be like, him and his pals are going to steal the NWA title. It should not be like Glen Gilberti is an honest threat to even Jeff Jarrett, never mind everyone else. It should be that Glen Gilberti has used all of his pals to get himself a title shot, and he might use all of his pals to get himself the title.
But he's so tough and smart and strong, Garrett.
No.
It's really funny that, as the last episode was airing, and I realized that he was actually having a match with Raven and not just fighting him, I was like, oh no. Are they going to have Glen Gilberti beat Raven?
And they did. Fair enough, it wasn't clean, but they still haven't beat Raven, which, they were like, alright, Jarrett and Raven, big match. Did so well. Sold out the Asylum, turned away 1,100 people, did our best pay-per-view number in ages. What's the next match we build to? So, like, we got D'Lo Brown? Nah.
No.
We got AJ Styles?
No chance.
Couldn't possibly do it. Ron Killings? Let's not even put him on the shows.
He's been whining. Why would we even think about it?
Sabu, or maybe Perry Saturn, or one of the other Extreme guys?
Dorks.
Big Mike Awesome push?
No way.
No.
They're like, we got two options here, alright? It's either Eric Watts or it's Glen Gilberti.
Would you like to hear me say something I wouldn't have thought I would have said, Liam?
Oh, please. Rain it down.
I would have preferred them to commit the month to Watts.
Yes.
Because at the very least, that's where they were going. That's a story they were telling, and it would have made more sense than them just pivoting to Disco being the biggest badass in the history of wrestling.
And that's because Eric Watts is great.
Sure.
Wow.
So good.
I can't believe you've turned around. So, I'm just glad you're on the right side of history now.
I am simply stating the fact that Eric Watts is less bad than Glen Gilberti.
Hey, we're moving in an upwards trajectory, and I'll take that.
I assume you're very upset about the degree to which Watts has been sidelined this month.
Nah, he's fucking, he's alright.
Okay, we'll get to Watts in a minute. So Disco starts the month being like, I'm the cool guy, sex is all about me now.
He had a cool suit on. He's a cool guy now.
No, he doesn't have the suit on for the next show. This is
I'm just saying in
first show of the
general.
month.
He's a cool suit-wearing, cigar-smoking guy now.
It's not even a suit either. He's wearing a shirt and tie and pants. He doesn't have a jacket.
I thought he had the jacket, didn't he? When he came out of the limo at the start of the second episode.
But he took it off pretty quick. When he was in the locker room, he only had the shirt and tie.
But he still had it. He owned it. It cost him $2,500.
$3,500, I'll have you know, and he was saying that's not the $3,500 suit.
Yeah, I said that's why he was wearing the $2,500 suit, because the $3,500 suit isn't worth going to Nashville for.
But $2,500 is still an expensive suit.
That's the point. Yes, Garrett. That is the point.
But you don't...
Is that he's saying, I still buy expensive suits because I'm cool, but I'm not going to give him the real expensive one.
Why not wear the cheap suits?
Because then... I can't believe I have to explain this to you.
But it's not an expensive suit.
It's pretty expensive. Let's convert from 03 to 2021.
But no, you look at that suit, that's not a 25... If he paid $2,500 for that suit...
Are you saying the heel is lying?
It wouldn't be the first time he's been tricked into overpaying for things that are probably fake. We'll talk about that when he gives his interview later.
Oh, no.
So, first show of the month, Gilberti, he's in the locker room with sex. They have the Asylum, Anarchy in the Asylum. God, there's so many Asylum named things. There's Armed Asylum, Anarchy in the Asylum, Asylum Alliance. One more I've forgotten. There's so many freaking Asylum named things now that it's hard to keep track of.
It's been the last 2 months. They've fallen in love with it. And I just want to clarify that with conversion, that actually is a $3,500 suit.
So Disco is lying to us based on inflation.
Yeah.
So the first show of the month is headlined by Anarchy in the Asylum, which is a gauntlet for number one contendership where, was it 15 or 16 people entered. And the winner, the number one contender for the NWA World Championship, gifted Glen Gilberti.
Awesome.
He beat a lot of people. The big surprises were Rick Steiner and Buff Bagwell were the big surprises in that match.
Big surprises. I mean, Rick Steiner was great, so I can't be angry at that.
Oh, there's a fun note about Rick Steiner.
Yes.
There was a lot of locker room and office heat directed at Rick Steiner following his appearance in the Gauntlet for the gold on May 7th. Wrestlers felt that Steiner was out for himself and that he didn't bump for anybody other than Perry Saturn, and didn't take care of his opponents while suplexing them.
Yeah, he was fantastic.
Brian Lawler was also upset that Steiner potatoed him during the match.
Maybe you should have kicked him in the dick in the match then.
That would have worked, because this match did in fact involve Brian Lawler hitting D'Lo Brown in the penis at least 10 times.
And he spread the love a little bit. He hit a couple other people as well.
It was mostly D'Lo.
Yes.
There's actually a moment where he hit D'Lo in the dick so many times that he hits D'Lo in the dick and D'Lo just starts corpsing. He starts laughing that he's done it again.
It's very funny.
Watch him in the corner. It's like halfway through the match. He hits D'Lo in the balls and D'Lo just starts laughing. D'Lo's like, again?
To be fair, we were watching it and laughing and going, again?
It is all Lawler. This is Lawler's last match in TNA, by the way. He went out in a high.
A final hurrah for Brian Lawler.
He's just hitting everybody in the balls. This is the end of Brian Lawler's meme run.
This is how you want to go out, though, isn't it?
It is. This is the way. But yeah, everyone's upset that Rick Steiner is Rick Steiner.
Yeah, how about you guys stop being such loser nerds, okay?
How about you go try to give him a cool suplex?
Yeah, how about you throw him?
Again, the random things being reported on TNA's website. Jeremy Borash said in his blog, word has it Steiner has lots of care for the throw, but little care for the landing, if you know what I mean.
Ooh, JB.
He's telling us all the inside backstage dealings. But the people in this match were Brian Lawler, D'Lo Brown, Sonny Siaki, James Storm, David Young, Kid Cash, Rick Steiner, Mike Awesome, Just Incredible, Lollipop, who attacked Tracy, Tracy was in the match, Perry Saturn.
Lollipop wasn't in the gauntlet, I just want to clarify.
No, but Tracy was.
Yes. Like, she didn't beat her up and take her place in the gauntlet.
She should have, and then Lollipop should have won the match, and they should have built the month around Lollipop.
They probably would have drawn better.
Conan, Disco, Buff, AJ, Sanders, Sabu, and that was it. The most interesting part of this match was over the top rope and you're eliminated, or you could brawl out to the floor and be pinned down if falls count anywhere. But multiple times, Sabu did big dives to the floor where he jumped over the top rope and eliminated himself, except he didn't.
Yeah.
They're like, no, it doesn't count. He's not eliminated. He gets back in the ring. And like JB at one stage says like Sabu has been eliminated. And Sabu gives him like a death stare. And they're like, well, oh no, he's not.
Yeah, I believe their justification was that it needs to be done with a maneuver over the top rope.
But even then, even after Sabu, he did a big dive to the floor to take a bunch of people out. He then does a second big dive to the floor to take people out.
He just kept doing it. He didn't care. Sabu's the best.
He kept eliminating himself from this gauntlet match.
Just the best.
Yeah, it came down to Disco and Sabu. Disco eliminates Sabu. Disco becomes #1 contender.
Yes. And we were all very ecstatic about it.
Well, yeah, this is the show we did the watch along for at pay-per-view number 434, May 7th, tnhad.com, where you can hear that watch along right now. And here are sheer delight at Disco becoming #1 contender.
And the dread in my voice as I realized that's what happened.
And then you were like, oh no, and then I broke the news to you then that they do in fact build the entire month, Liam. They don't just do it the next week. An entire month of Disco.
Little did I know, it was a fantastic month of great storyline, so...
Like, we don't even get to pay this off, Liam, because the Jarrett Disco match doesn't happen until June.
Yeah, we have to talk about it more.
We have to talk about this Disco mega push again in the next episode.
This gets 2 episodes.
There was actually rumblings during this month that they were going to hold off the Jarrett Disco match for the 1-year anniversary show.
Oh.
All the way to June 18th.
I assumed that was going to be Raven.
Actually, the Disco and Raven match at the end of the month, it was meant to be Jarrett and Raven in the rematch, but there's a whole cascading series of things that led that not to happen, which we'll talk about in a minute.
I'm looking forward to hearing about it. Raven's backstage dealings have become some of my favorite so far.
The entirety of TNA now is just Jarrett and Raven butting heads backstage as Russo is like the puppet master.
Russo just like pushing them against each other.
Indeed. So that brings us to the next show where Glen Gilberti has taken over. They open with a full like Raw segment where all of Sex comes out and they're like, whoa, we're cool guys. I'm in a suit. A cameraman, you follow me because I'm going to do cool stuff tonight.
He's so cool.
No, he's not.
He's such a cool, strong, smart guy.
This is literally a Raw opening segment.
It's a Raw opening segment in the shittiest backdrop ever.
Yeah.
If they were just in the worst arena of all time.
Just there in a shitty small arena doing their promo that nobody cares about, talking about their feud that nobody cares about.
This show has the same energy as like a backyard show.
Mm.
In that it's like, it's the Booker's mates, so they all get to do whatever they want. And they all get to put themselves over, even though none of them are really great.
In the defense of most backyard shows, they usually feature wrestlers better than Glen Gilberti.
Oh boy.
So yeah, the big issue here is that Sex are feuding, they're beefing with the Extreme Revolution, which is the same group of people that were in Team Extreme, but they've renamed them Extreme Revolution, probably because WWE are like, hey, wait a minute, we own Team Extreme.
Yeah, we remember the Hardys? We gave them that name.
We fired Jeff, but still, it's ours.
We still own the trademark.
So there's a lot of tension between Team Extreme and Gilberti. We'll talk about that. There's a lot of gang warfare this month.
There's a lot.
So Gilberti is recruiting new people. Well, God, there's so much stuff.
It's not so much recruiting. It's more of like an open invitation.
Well, there's the moment where Kid Cash goes into the Sex locker room as a peace offering and offers the services of Trinity.
Yeah, he's like, here, go ahead.
You can have this woman who I own.
And all of them are like, just like cartoonishly evil.
But then later in the show, Liam, Glenn sits down with Trinity and is like, you know what, we value you here. We really want you here for you, not to Kid Cash giving you to us in a way that's very uncomfortable.
Is it wrong that I legitimately like that segment?
Yes.
Because he's just a giant manipulative piece of shit. This was the only week where I was like, oh man, is this actually going to be good? Because like, he was manipulating Trinity here, and he did the same exact thing to The Gathering as well. And it worked. He just convinced them.
It's just like, Raven's been real bad. Where is he? Where's Raven? He's not here, but we're here. We're your friend.
And they're like, damn, maybe Glenn's right. And I was like, holy shit. He's like as much of a a brainwasher as Raven.
Clearly, he's as good a politician as the evil cult leader who has a long track record of convincing people to do his bidding.
It's awesome. I liked it. Like the way he talked to Trinity about it too. He's like, oh, I mean, of course, like she would like briefly consider it. Look what she's dealing with. The worst person ever to exist on a wrestling show.
We'll talk about Kick-Ass and Trinity in a little bit when we get to the X Division, I guess.
Sure. This one's going to be all over the place because this may have been the most disjointed month so far.
When I was doing like broad topics, there's Gilberti, and then there's the tournaments, and then everything else just splinters in like 700 different directions.
But it's all like related.
It's all like tied into the gang warfare.
That's the one thing. The one big note I had from all of these shows was how disjointed everything felt this month.
So on that show, on the second show of the month, May 14th, there's an interview with Jeff Jarrett where he's sitting in his house and he's talking about the disco and all the stuff.
We had 2 shoot interviews this month.
Yeah, and there's a line where he's like, you know what? Once Steve Austin was Stunning Steve. Once The Undertaker was Mean Mark Callis. Who's to say that the Disco Inferno can't have a similar rebrand?
Everyone.
Literally everyone.
Oh, Jeff. Maybe Jeff just is bad.
No one in the world has ever looked at the Disco Inferno and been like, oh, you know, if they gave him a real character, that guy could be something. Whereas literally everybody in the world looked at Steve Austin and was like, oh, you know, if they gave that guy a different character, he could really be someone.
Oh, boy.
And everyone was like, oh, this Undertaker guy is real tall. Why don't we do something with him?
Like, he buys into it. Like, because you could just imagine that's like Jeff's actual feelings, you know? That's the problem.
And again, this is the show where Tenay is like, you know what? This could be a changed Glen Gilberti. He's a whole new wrestler. He's a real, like we've seen him be a badass. It's like, Mike, you're supposed to be the voice of reason here.
Yeah, but like, he would look like an idiot if on the show he was like, saying how this is all stupid because the show was taking it seriously. Like, I get what you mean, but him being like, oh, you know, this guy's a joke, he doesn't have a chance, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't make any sense when on the show he's beating everyone's ass and winning matches and being the smartest, coolest, toughest guy in the company.
But, like, even he won the gauntlet only after the Harris Bros did a bunch of interference for him.
Yeah, but then he spent the next month beating everyone up.
But no, yeah, on a 10-on-1 disadvantage. Like, this show ends with Triple X defeat Styles and D'Lo to retain the tag titles. And then all the sex people flood out and they beat up Styles and D'Lo. They beat up all the people backstage and they take over. It's a big sex takeover. And it's like, again, they're just beating people up 10-on-1. Like, Gilberti does beat Raven, but only after Vince Russo takes him out with a baseball bat.
I also love that in that match, there was a point where it's like, they're like, oh, Glen Gilberti needs to get back to the brawling, the thing that's really brought him up this month.
Yes, compared to Raven. Famously bad at brawling.
I was like, what are you talking about?
So, like, they're doing this thing where they're telling us this guy is this badass, but, like, he's still a worm, which is the reason that would be such a better story if they're like, he has these 10 goofs behind him that he is convinced to do his bidding, and he could steal the title.
Oh, so you're advocating for a Glen Gilberti title run?
No, he should be a goof who Jarrett overcomes.
Wow, you've heard it here first, guys. Garrett wants Gilberti to win the title next month.
Yeah, so NWA-TNA pay-per-view number 46, May 21. Gilberti's not there, but we do have a sit-down interview with Glenn.
You're so desperate to talk about this.
So Glenn spends this sit-down interview wearing a Manchester United jersey, Liam. Which,
Man U.
My very favourite part of is it's a fake Man United jersey.
Yes.
It's not a real United jersey. The man has been swindled by some huckster into probably paying full price for this very fake Manchester United jersey.
How can you tell?
That has never been a design of a Manchester United jersey.
Maybe he just had a custom one made.
Oh yeah, of course. He's such a big fan that he needed his custom Man United jersey.
Don't gatekeep Glen Gilberti.
I will gatekeep Glen Gilberti because he's been conned. He's been deceived by somebody.
Do you want to talk about the content of the interview, or you just want to really nail in on the...
No, we're going to talk entirely about Manchester United fan Glen Gilberti and his fake shirt. He probably got it in, like, the Canaries, because famously, if you go to Spain, you'll see a bunch of, like, fake jerseys, like, just lining the streets for much less than the regular retail price. And people would come home for the holidays being like, I got a Barcelona jersey, and you'd see it's, like, the fake Barcelona jersey. It's like, oh, good for you. Well done. So Glenn is one of those people. He clearly went on holiday to Spain and is like, "Oh, geez, look at this Manchester United, and it's a third of the actual price of a Manchester United jersey. I've got this as a deal. This is a steal. It's a bargain."
I went, not me, literally, like this fictional person. It's like, oh man, I went to insert place here and came back with this Rolex. Could you believe I got it for a quarter of the price?
It's definitely real. It's a real Rolex. Actually, United are short of a manager these days. They sacked Ole Gunnar Solskjaer this week. So, one thing I will give Disco Inferno, his managerial skills for sex, very good.
He's increased membership. He's brought titles.
He has improved morale compared to Sonny Siaki. Sonny Siaki, they treat like a nerd.
Yeah, if there's one thing you can talk about, his leadership abilities. I just want to mention that I didn't notice how terrible his facial hair was in this interview until I'm looking at a photo of it.
Yeah, because it weirdly amplifies his butt chin, but also looks horrific.
It also doesn't connect.
Because, like, he shaved his neck, and he shaved, like, his cheeks.
His cheek?
You just have, like, a line of stubble going across his jawline.
Like, he has, like, the hair sideburn bit, but not the beard sideburn bit that, like, matches it. It's so odd.
It's a very strange combination here, and his weird butt chin is thoroughly amplified by it.
It's, like, shiny.
Look at his shiny butt chin.
I want to, like, spank it.
If you go to tnachat.com, you will see that there is the photo of the Glen Gilberti in the Manchester United jersey in our show notes, which you can get for $1 a month. It's also on my Twitter.
We have a flooding in of $1 Patreons.
All the $1 Patreons to see the Glen Gilberti butt chin Manchester United jersey photo. But yeah, the content of the interview, now that we're done with him and him being swindled by some dude in Spain. He basically said that, like, Jeff Jarrett's out of touch. It was mostly about how Jeff Jarrett was old and should not be world champion. Jeff Jarrett doesn't know what the kids want.
I like that. Like, he's like, oh, the kids, what they want is this sports entertainment.
And Jarrett is a 42-year-old father of 3 or whatever he said. He won't understand
I thought
these
he was
things.
talking about Jerry the whole time.
I guess it would make sense. I don't know.
I was like, he can't be talking about Jeff.
I don't even think Jeff was that old at this stage.
No.
There's a clear burial of poor Jeff Jarrett.
It's his grandmother hair that he's been wearing for the last 3 months.
Oh yeah, he's straight out of Coronation Street. The man, like, walked out of EastEnders to Coronation Street, then took a trip to Emmerdale, then went down to Holby City, travelled to Australia, went through Neighbours, went through Home and Away, hit up Shortland Street, and then travelled here to the NWA-TNA with his soap opera hair.
Yeah. And what a fantastic look he's brought to the table there.
Has he?
No.
Okay. Just like this Glen Gilberti Manchester United jersey.
A right proper scouser.
Which brings us to the last show of the month, in which Glen Gilberti gets Jeff Jarrett suspended for attacking Raven the week before.
Yeah, which is funny because there must have been some sort of miscommunication here, because immediately after that segment they cut to the back and he's like, haha, I got Raven suspended, guys.
Yeah, he fucked up his line and then Mike Tenay had to cover for him.
I was like, what's happening? I was so confused.
Yeah, because the May 21st show opens with Raven cutting a promo on Jeff Jarrett, featuring your favourite line in TNA history, I believe.
Oh, I don't have it in front of me.
Yes, Raven, while cutting a promo on Jeff Jarrett, said the words, "No one jerks off at Nashville without Jeff Jarrett owning a part of his fist."
It's so good though, isn't it?
And then Jeff Jarrett sneaks up behind him, because Raven is cutting this promo sitting on top of a television production truck.
Yeah, outside, which is a point of contention that we'll see later.
And then Jarrett sneaks up on him.
Like Solid Snake.
Yeah.
And performs a stealth takedown.
This is a Hitman level, where it's like Raven is just doing his thing, going on his routine, on his NPC path, and Jarrett pops up unseen. You never see Jarrett.
He got the S rank for his stealth mission.
Yeah, very good. So he chokes out Raven, leaves him laying, and that's what he gets suspended for the following week. Glen Gilberti, for some reason, politics to get Jarrett suspended by who even knows who, because we don't have an authority figure on these shows.
This is a big month for stealth attacks.
What are the other ones?
Well, we had Amazing Red appearing from out of nowhere with a Hurricane Runner on Raven as he was trying to leave the arena. We had the setup ambush with Ron Killings and the Harris brothers and Conan.
Oh yeah, they beat up the Nazis.
Yeah, allegedly.
No, they beat them up.
Yes, that was the bit I was alleging. Big month for stealth attacks, and I appreciate it. That should be one thing they do carry over from this month.
It's a very sneaky company. Why would you attack someone head to head when you can simply wait until they're cutting their masturbatory promo on top of a television production truck and then you choke them out from behind?
Gilberti is what I'm going to call him now. Gilberti would have been screwed if Raven had have cut this promo inside of the Asylum, because he couldn't have got him banned.
Yeah.
Although it's not like Jeff listened to the banning anyway.
That's like, he doesn't even go the entire show. He's handed this letter on the show, and he opens it and he's like smiling and he's reading it. He's like, Mike Tenay, you see this? And he shows the letter to Mike Tenay, and Mike Tenay relays to the audience that Jeff Jarrett has been suspended for one night only. A single night Jeff Jarrett has been suspended. So Jeff Jarrett's like, oh, I know, great. And then leaves. That's his exact quote. He doesn't even get
to do that. Like, they just cut to the backstage segment where Glen Gilberti's like, ha, I got Raven suspended.
Yeah, and then Mike Tenay has to say afterwards, he meant Jeff Jarrett. He was talking about Jeff Jarrett. And then later in the show, Jeff just comes back.
Yeah, they're like, hey, Jeff, can you leave? And he's like, how about I take a shit on this instead, mate? And they're like, oh, okay.
And then that brings us to our main event, in which Glen Gilberti defeated Raven following interference from the returning Vince Russo.
A freshly shaven Vince Russo.
He looks very weird without the beard, doesn't he?
Looks very young, though.
He does. He does look in his 30s as opposed to in his 40s.
Handsome guy, this Vince Russo.
Ah, you think he's dashing?
Yeah, luscious hair.
There was a whole saga around this Gilberti and Raven match.
I was going to say, there has to be. The whole time I was thinking about this, I was like, if Gilberti wins, how the fuck did they get that to go through?
So, the backstage tension between Jeff Jarrett and Raven continued at the May 28th show. When Raven arrived at the building, he tried to pull out of his scheduled match with Glen Gilberti.
Based.
Which was the advertised main event of the show. Raven told TNA officials that he suffered a head injury, thought to be a mild concussion, while working D'Lo Brown at an independent event in Canada the night before, when D'Lo Brown accidentally struck him with a stick.
Based.
And like, the left side of Raven's head was noticeably swollen, according to several backstage sources, so he was not making this up just to get out of job.
I like to imagine the whole time in the car on the way to the thing, he was just like punching himself in the head. He's like, come on, I don't want to lose the Glen. I don't want to lose the fucking Glen.
And my favorite part is they drive to the shows together, apparently, so Glen is just sitting in the car while Raven's punching himself in the head. He's like, I'm not doing the job to you. I'm not doing the job to you.
Are you alright? He's like, don't fucking lose the Glen. He's like, oh yeah, D'Lo, you know?
Despite Raven's request to get out of the match, Jarrett was insistent that the advertised match take place. There was some suspicion on Jarrett's part that Raven was trying to get out of the match to avoid doing the job, but a number of TNA sources said that Raven was clearly injured and questioned why he would want to get out of doing a job for a friend and political ally Gilbert.
Maybe because it makes him look like fucking shit.
Yep, sure does. So Jarrett insisted that Raven do the match. He offered the opportunity to do a short and safe match, but Raven eventually worked that up to doing, like, this match goes 15 minutes. So, like, Jarrett's like, you can do a short, quick match, but Raven is like, I don't want to be beaten by Glen Gilberti in 5 minutes, so we will do a proper 15-minute main event.
And what a proper main event it was.
One spot where Raven was meant to kick out of the Seacalypse, but they pulled it from the match because Raven couldn't physically take the move.
My man's fucked up.
Yeah, so, like, this is 2003, an era in which head injuries were not taken nearly as seriously as they are now. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that in 2021 wrestling where someone is like, oh, I think I got a concussion there last night, and the booker of the company is like, no, you've got to do the match.
Yeah, do it short and safe, idiot.
Just do a 5-minute match, it's fine, but you have to do it.
Yeah, that doesn't go down anymore, which is, you know, great. I mean, probably does still go down, to be honest.
Well, I think wrestlers, I don't think, I'd like to think bookers don't force wrestlers to do it as much.
But you gotta remember, like, especially in this kind of business, like, they may not force anyone to do anything, but, like, the implication, the unspoken implication is always there.
Yeah, and I think wrestlers are stubborn and stupid, and, like, there's always the thing of make your dates, don't miss the shows. Like, if you can work, you work.
And also, like, you know, if I don't do this, someone takes this spot, they might change the push, blah, 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 blah.
And if I don't do this, I don't get paid if you're working indies.
Yeah, so
there are horrible disincentives for people to do this.
It's a rough one.
It's a bad business that regularly doesn't look after its wrestlers. But the match itself, Gilberti beat him. Russo returned to the show. He hit Raven with a baseball bat. Gilberti pinned him.
Son of a bitch.
It was absolutely fascinating to see Gilberti, like, doing ankle locks and working like a body part.
Yeah, and Raven's selling.
Like, Disco worked the leg. This was a leg match between Glen Gilberti and Raven.
Yeah, it wasn't a good one.
It wasn't bad either. It was fine.
Yeah, you know, like, but it wasn't awful either.
It was just that standard, like, 2.5-star heavyweight match, which is perfectly acceptable, but something you will never remember.
Besides for the fact that you can say Glen Gilberti beat Raven.
For reasons beyond comprehension. And, like, this was the original spot where they were thinking about doing the Raven and Jarrett rematch, but they switched it to Gilberti because they wanted to do the Gilberti match sooner. And I guess needed Gilberti to have a credible win over a main event star. And chose Raven, even though he beat AJ last month.
It's a lot. There's a lot going on.
It's a lot of Glen, a lot of Disco. So Disco is our biggest star in the history of the NWA-TNA here in May 2003. As attendances collapse around him, as I'm sure buy rates went through the floor, Disco, your main event star.
Please consider him for wrestler of the year.
Of course. Who else could you consider?
I can't think of a single person.
According to PW Torch, while no one is sure what made Russo agree to return as an on-air character, it's well known that Jarrett has been asking him to do it all along, so they really didn't want Russo.
Jarrett, I'm trying to like you, man.
He is doing himself no favors.
It's like, I desperately, like, am trying to like you. But you're making it very difficult.
I did quite enjoy Mike Tenay, of course, famous for his "oh shit, it's Vince Russo" line. Did quite well go back to the well when Vince Russo showed up on this show, where he shouted, "Russo's back! The son of a bitch is back!"
Yeah, it's a good line.
Which it doesn't have quite the authentic, visceral hatred of "oh shit, it's Vince Russo," but it's pretty solid.
Because he's also spent the last 3 months just hanging out with him backstage anyway, so...
He's just always around and hanging out in the back of New Church pre-tapes, so...
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, I saw him in the background of that James Mitchell promo there the other week, so this is no surprise.
Where was James Mitchell this month?
Is he on the show? His guys are on the show, but now that
his guys are on the show, but he's never with them.
Yeah, I don't think there's any James Mitchell. Maybe he was ringside for the Gauntlet, but yeah, I don't think he's on the later shows in the month at all, where Slash, Awesome, and Brian Lee are.
Yeah.
But that's Disco. That is the month of Disco.
Disco Fever.
The NWA-TNA did in fact have Disco Fever here in May 2003.
Well, I'm glad we can move on from it.
Even though you spent literally the entirety of the last, hour putting it over?
Yeah, because it's a fun meme and it makes you angry, but, I don't actually want to watch it.
Now, we're not done. Disco and Jarrett is next week.
Oh, trust me, next week I'll be like, wow, fantastic match. Just tremendous effort from Disco, really dragging this Jeff Jarrett performance up.